Hello, I'm Fearless Rick, and this is my preview for the Belmont Stakes to be run at Saratoga Racetrack on Saturday, June 8th, around 6:51 p.m. This year's stakes was moved to Saratoga in upstate New York because there are ongoing renovations to Belmont Racetrack. Because of the change in configuration of Saratoga, the race will not be run at its usual 12 furlongs, 1.5 miles, but rather at 10 furlongs, 1.25 miles, which is the same distance as the Kentucky Derby, won by a nose this year by Mystic Dan over a charging Sierra Leone. And both of those horses are entered for this race. The race has also a number of newcomers and features wire to wire winner of the Preakness, Seize the Gray, who romped in the mud by 2.5 lengths over Mystic Dan. You got to give Mystic Dan and Jackie Brian Hernandez all the credit in the world because they fought to the finish in the Derby and were probably up against it, chasing down a runaway leader in the Preakness. He'll give it his best shot, as he usually does, but will it be enough to get him to the finish line ahead of the rest of the field? That's a tough call. The most interesting aspect of this race comes down to the three entries saddled by trainer Todd Pletcher, who has number 5 Antiquarian, number 7 Protective, and number 10 Mindframe. Of the three, Mindframe appears the biggest threat, having won his 7 furlong maiden race by a whopping 13 lengths at Gulfstream Park, and followed that up with a 7.5 length romp at a mile and a 16th and $100,000 optional claimer on May 4th at Churchill Downs. That race was earlier in the day before the Kentucky Derby. So a comparison of the fractions shows Mindframe, who incidentally went off at 2 to 5 odds, set a much more leisurely pace than the Wicked Derby fractions. Mindframe went 49, 113, and 143 for the 8.5 furlongs, whereas the Derby pace was 46 and 3, 111 and 1, 137 and 2, and 203 and 1/5. Mindframe's 143 for a mile and 16th matches up pretty well with the mile in 137.2 in the Derby. So the 10 horse, Pletcher's one of Pletcher's three entries, looks to be for real. Of course, the front end fell apart in the Derby, allowing Mystic Dan to slip through on the rail, and Sierra Leone and Forever Young, who also finished third by a nose, to rally down the center of the track in the stretch. A similar setup doesn't seem likely unless Irad Ortiz Jr., who's riding Mindframe, decides to send his horse to the lead. But the horse can rate, and he's proven to be able to do that. The suspected rabbit, Doorknock, will be out there winging it, along with probably Wine Stewart and maybe even Seize the Gray. Because Fletcher has two other horses entered, it's unlikely Dornack will get an easy lead. And Aquarian has enough speed to pressure the pace, which is probably the instruction that'll be given to jockey John Velazquez. The number 4 horse, the Wine Steward, should also be prominent early in the race and may prove to be the most durable of the speed types. Though he's never gone further than a mile and eighth, he's never finished worse than second. All 3 times were in graded stakes, and he's never been beaten by more than 3/4 of a length. Interestingly enough, it was an aquarium that beat him in the Peter Pan. Protective, number 7, ran third in that contest. Speaking of Protective, he'll be ridden by Tyler Gaffleone, and Flavian Pratt gets on Sierra Leone. It's an interesting switch. Apparently, trainer Chad Brown, excuse me, wasn't exactly overjoyed at the ride Gaffleone gave Sierra Leone in the Derby, prompting the change. Pratt has never ridden Sierra Leone, but he's one of the world's top jockeys. Gaffleone may have gotten the butt of the deal, as his mount, Protective, is actually still a maiden, but who knows? In the final analysis, Sierra Leone is the horse to beat. He's likely to go off at short odds. 5-2 would be generous, but he's got the right stuff. His top 3 buyer figures, 101, 98, and 97, are right there with Mystic Dan, 102, 101, and 97. And he's had an extra 2 weeks rest as he skipped the Preakness. The two inside horses, Seize the Gray and number one Seize the Gray and number two Resilience, don't figure well in here. Seize the Gray's Preakness victory is tainted by the race being run on what was labeled as muddy, when in fact it was more like slick fast. His Beyer figure in the Preakness was 13 points higher than any of his other previous 9 races. Did he earn it? Yes. Is he a solid horse? Sure. Can he compete on a fast track with this bunch? Doubtful. Number 2, Resilience, has only one quality win to his credit, the Grade 2 Wood Memorial, a race where he earned a Beyer of 104, third to Seize the Gray's 105 in the Preakness, and the top figure of 106 put up by Mindframe in his maiden win. Those numbers are all a little bit suspect, being higher than both Sierra Leone's and Mystic Dan's Derby efforts. Resilience ran in the Kentucky Derby, rallied up to be second on the second turn, but didn't have any kick, finishing sixth, 7 3/4 lengths behind. With the extra rest since May 4, he could turn in a better performance, but he also may just be in over his head. So here's how I plan to bet the race. I'm putting 3 to win on number 9, Sierra Leone, 6 to place, and 10 to show. That's $19. I'm also putting Sierra Leone in all 3 spots in a 50-cent trifecta part wheel with number 3, Mystic Dan, number 4, The Wine Steward, and number 10, Mindframe. So that would be 9 over 3 4 10 over 3 4 10, then 3 4 10 over 9 over 3 4 10, and 3 4 10 over 3 4 10 over 9. That's a $9 bet. I'm also using 4, 9, and 10 in a $2 exacta box, a $12 bet. The total wager is $38, I believe. If my math, no, sorry, $40. The math is hard, but I got it. $40. There's an excellent card at Saratoga, including 8 graded stakes races prior to the Belmont. So good luck. Have a good time. Hope you pick a winner. That's it.